talking Joe podcast, minds in motion. Talk about relationships, help your emotions. Behavior management when your kids start to losing it. Talk about life and all the confusion. Minds in motion. Talk about relationships. I'm talking Joe podcast, minds in motion. Talk about relationships, help your emotions. Behavior management when your kids start to losing it. Talk about life and all the confusion. Minds in motion. Talk about relationships. Talk about relationships.
Good evening and welcome to Minds in Motion with me, your host, Jewel. This evening, I have another wonderful guest, as usual. But before I bring my wonderful guest to the front stage, I just want to say thank you from the top to all the viewers that are going to be tuning in on all the platforms tonight. We are live on TDN Radio Caribbean, TDN Network Twitch, TDN Network YouTube, and TDN TV Facebook. We're also going to be live tonight on GTM Radio Online and SBE Radio Toronto. All right. So we're actually also live on Instagram as well, TDN TV, TDN Radio Caribbean. Okay. So before I get into that, I just want to say last week I had fun jumping into the studio with my colleague, that's Anthony Drago. Tonight is going to be the same thing. So before you jump off at the end of the show, I'm going to remind you, because as viewers come in, I'm just going to remind them that you should stay on because there's an intriguing show coming up next after mine on TDN TV. Okay? So tonight on Minds in Motion, I like to get your minds thinking. Tonight I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Michelle Richards Graham. I'm going to bring her to the stage. She is a wonderful author. She also publishes her own books, self-made. Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming to Minds in Motion. I don't know why your mic is off. 1 second. Take your mic off. Oops. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things. All right. So welcome to Minds in Motion. All right. You're welcome. So I was telling the viewing audience that you are an author, you're a publisher, and you are a strong self-made woman. So thank you for being on Minds in Motion. And I just wanted you to just speak to the listening audience and the viewing audience. Tell them who Michelle Richards Graham is in a nutshell and how you got into writing.
So I write what I call bold and unapologetic young adult books. So I like to write about some of the topics that teens might be dealing with, but might be uncomfortable talking about. So like falling in love for the first time, being in complicated friendships, parents breaking up, being bullied at school. But my writing journey began at the tender age of 6, because I wrote my first story in my first grade class. And from there, I decided I wanted to be an author. I loved it, I enjoyed the creative process. And for me, it was just a magical experience to be so young and to create characters of my own and a world of my own. And through there, I went to 4th grade. I discovered poetry. I loved writing that. But what I didn't realize at the time was that my dream of becoming an author was going to collide with my worst nightmare. When I was 14, I was molested. And at
Mm-hmm.
the time, writing was the only way I knew how to cope
Mm-hmm.
until I found the courage to tell someone what had happened to me.
Yeah.
And at the time, I wasn't sure if I would ever be brave enough to release this book to the world, because
Mm-hmm.
even though I made it fictional, it had to do with a lot of what I went through. It was
Right.
inspired by my personal experience.
Yeah.
And it's from there that I decided that I would publish it, give it a try, see how people responded. And I got great community response from a lot of people, some that went through the same thing and
Yeah.
hadn't dealt with it yet. And that's how I became an author of bold and unapologetic young adult books, because I realized that there are a lot of topics out there that people aren't comfortable talking about, but it's just it's great to know that there's someone else who understands and others that are going through it, and that was my goal.
Right. And you know what? You came to the right place to talk about bold and unapologetic, because Minds in Motion is where we do that. We talk about things that our community tends to kind of like dismiss or pretend is not happening.
Yeah,
I did a few months back, I had another author who had a very similar story of being groomed actually into as a child, really young child, into sexual perversion with an older man. And so it took a lot for her as well, and I really commend you and for her as well for sharing your stories, because a lot of us do go through these things and we don't tell people, right?
right.
And I'm sure your book can be almost like a self-help book for young ladies. Have you heard that before, that kind of review, or like or feedback from young ladies that it helps them cope?
Yes. And the very first time I heard that, it was actually at Knowledge Bookstore in Brampton. I want to shout out Knowledge Bookstore. They were the very first bookstore to support me as an
Yeah,
independent author.
yeah.
And the book was selling well there, and
Hmm.
but I was still kind of nervous because I wasn't necessarily hearing feedback from people, because sometimes people read, they may you may never get to meet the readers. But
Right.
I remember there were a group of young girls there at the time. They were young teenagers, maybe about 14. And I remember one of them said to me, she really got into my book, which is called It Could Never Happen to Me. She really
Hmm.
got into the book because she said the same thing happened to her. And
Hmm.
that's when I realized, wow, this is pretty powerful. This is even bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, that touched my heart, because I thought, this is serious. And she felt something, and that's what I wanted to do,
yeah.
to reach people that way.
That's good. And I'm sure you've gotten, and I think we will talk a little bit about that. You've gotten speaking engagements where you can speak more to the young adults about things that you have put in your book that are relatable to them, right?
Yeah.
And you want it to be relatable as well, because I work in the industry of education, and I find that it's very hard to get young people to read these days.
Yeah.
Read a physical book
Yeah.
rather than reading online or reading on, I guess, through their phone or an app. So it's good to hear that kind of feedback. So I'm glad you were able to hear that, and I'm sure you hear since that time you've heard much more after that. So thank you for sharing that. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about. So you talked about your first book. It Can Never Happen to Me. So I'm gonna show that I have it. Get your copy. So It Can Never Happen to Me. That was the one. That was the first book you wrote, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this one is the one that you wrote at 14 years old. You started to write like almost journaling first, and then developed it into a book. Is that what happened for this one?
Yeah. So I wrote the first draft of it when I was 14.
Hmm.
A lot of it was how it started. I mean, journaling, that's kind of a good word for it.
Hmm.
Because I was just at the time, I wasn't sure if I was actually going to be writing a story. At first, it all started with just getting all the words out,
Yeah.
getting all my feelings out, because, again, journaling, I like that word because journaling is usually something that's private. And for
Right.
me at the time, I was just getting out all of my feelings, whether it was just passages of prose or if it was, conversations that I wish I had, conversations that I had
Mm.
that no one knew about. So yeah, at that point, that's how it started. And then I put it down, and then I picked it back up again, and then I started to share it with friends, my inner circle, just to kind of start to get it out there. So, kind of dip my toe in a little bit, see how people responded to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it it started to become a manuscript that was going around my school, and everybody was kind of reading it and giving me feedback. And I thought, oh my gosh. So from there, I started to feel better about it, and I realized that going forward, I was probably going to publish that. So I went ahead and did that.
Okay. So you're telling me that when you were 14, you journaled, you wrote things down from your heart, from your mind, things that you experienced, and then you shared that at school? Is
Well,
that
first, I shared the actual book. At first,
oh,
it started as just, getting my feelings out, getting all my personal feelings, but then I turned it into a story because that was what I felt I had to do.
okay.
Um, kind of I guess in a way to kind of um, get my feelings together, see them in a different light, see them through
Mm,
a character, see them
right.
not being myself, but actually seeing this play out in a story format. Because
Yeah.
writing was something that I loved to do. And that's what made this difficult because, creating stories was something that I love. And here I
Mm-hmm.
was creating a story about something that was so painful to me. So
Mm,
when it was in proper first draft format, I shared the story with everybody. But I
okay.
didn't necessarily tell everybody that it was about me. That was the process.
Okay. I was just about to say that because I know, I mean, it could be challenging to tell a young a group of people like this happened to me, and like without like I'm just thinking about the girls that I'm currently working with. I
Yeah.
work in a middle school, and then telling someone something and saying don't tell anyone, or telling someone something and then they turn it around and make it into whatever they want it to be. So whether it be rumors or, oh my gosh, she went through this, and snickering and that kind of stuff. Um, I was glad that it was well received from the people who read it. I'm glad that you had a good experience and not a negative experience with that. So through your books, your storytelling, it's a powerful way of reaching youth in a therapeutic way, right? Um, I actually, as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking of, oh, this would be great for you to go into schools, but I think you've had those experiences, right? Going to schools and talking about your book. Have
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Okay.
I had more opportunities pre-COVID, but I have been getting back into schools and speaking with youth and engaging that way. And it's been a
Okay.
good experience.
Okay. Um, yeah, a lot of things are changing with the schools as well. So it's kind of sticky getting into the schools, but I am definitely going to try and get you to come into my school next year. I'm in a middle school, so that age range is it's almost like a grade eight, 7, 8 age range would be good, like 13 to 14. You
Yeah.
said,
Okay.
yeah, so maybe or 12 to 14 would be a great age range because kids, I think, are experiencing things younger and younger these days.
Oh,
Um,
yes,
before their
absolutely.
times, before their
Yeah.
time, they're experiencing a lot of things, whether it's consensual or not. They're experiencing
Right.
things, right?
Yep.
As someone who speaks to adolescents in school, so you've done that. Well, okay, I know we said we wouldn't talk about the bold connection, but it is it is definitely a therapeutic way of connecting. Have you ever thought of doing like a sequel to this book?
Actually,
This particular.
have.
Okay.
I have.
Yeah.
Um, I have some ideas. Um,
Okay.
I probably won't get too much into them just in case anything changes. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't do that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I have an idea for a follow up. Um, but the follow up, well, I will say this. At least if I get it out there, it'll compel me to proceed
Yeah.
with.
I feel like I know what you're gonna say. Like you're the victor and you're not the villain or what. You're the victor in the end.
So in this, it could never happen to me. Just a little rundown. So it's about a 13-year-old girl named Keisha who has low self-esteem,
Hmm.
and part of her low self-esteem is triggered by her best friend Trisha, who is stereotypically beautiful and all the boys like her, and Keisha feels like, boys don't like me. And then Keisha meets her stepbrother, and he takes an interest in her because, he wants to make her feel better about herself and,
Yeah.
you're beautiful and all that. But then his interest turns sexual, and that's the beginning of what happens to Keisha and her journey to find the courage to tell someone what had happened to her.
Hmm.
The other part of the story, that her best friend Trisha, uh, she's a promiscuous teenager, and she hooks up with random guys,
Right.
and eventually it catches up with her, and she has to face some consequences.
Mm.
So the follow up I was thinking was actually about that character, Trisha.
Ah, okay. So there was a cliff. It's called a cliffhanger, right? Where,
In a way, her story somewhat wrapped up, but there could be more to it.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Hmm. All right. So at the back, I'm going to read the back of the book here.
Okay.
So it says, "It Could Never Happen to Me" is a frank and realistic take on sexual activity and abuse among young teens. This story provides a point of reference for readers to talk about complicated subject matter that is often uncomfortable for both youth and adults to discuss. I like the fact that you say both youth and adults because sometimes um, if a parent has a child that has experienced a sexual abuse or a sexual encounter, they don't know how to react. And sometimes they overreact. And then
Yeah.
the child doesn't want to share anymore with them. Right. So I think this is a good read, not just for young adults, but for the parents that are watching as well. Um, it could be a guide for you to navigate how to maneuver when young people go through things. We also have to check ourselves, I think, as adults, and we have to remember when we were kids, things we went through and what we wanted to share with our parents, right? So I like that you point that out. Um, yeah, this is definitely a book for not just parents, but I think teachers as well, because things are going on in the schools
Right.
that teachers, it happens right under their nose and they have no idea that things are happening. All right. Um, let's move on to your other book because I do have questions and I'm veering away from the questions that I sent to you. But which one came next? Was it Sweet and Sour Honey or the Eastgate Diaries?
Sweet and sour honey.
Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this. This looks like okay, go ahead. Let's talk a little bit about Sweet and Sour Honey. That's the book.
So this book, this had nothing to do with personal experience. It Could Never Happen to Me was inspired by what I'd been through, but my other books are just standalone stories dealing with other issues that teens deal with.
Mhm.
So in this book, a 16-year-old girl named Chenille, she moves to another city with her mother after her parents get divorced. And the new city is Toronto. Just I like to keep things local as well, so just to have some familiarity with the city. And as a 16-year-old, Neil's thinking now, okay, I'm going to a new school. It's going to be tough. I don't have any friends there. But when she gets to the new school, she meets her old friend that actually goes to that school, so it's not so bad. And then she meets this boy that she's instantly attracted to. She thinks he's really gorgeous, really friendly, really nice. But then she finds out he's the same awkward boy that used to tease her back in elementary school. So now she's really embarrassed, thinking, oh my gosh. But she realizes, okay, he's become a good guy, and there's some matchmaking going on in the background because there are other people that like to see them together. So they do get together, and first love is sweet. And then the sour part of the story is his sassy ex-girlfriend is back in the picture. She wants him back. His best friend is jealous of the relationship because he thinks that Shamil is taking his boy away from him. And there's a greater threat that could mean the end of Shamil's life. Yeah. Now,
wow.
it's not anything violent. I like to put that out there. Okay. But it's a twist that readers don't usually see coming. And I've had one reviewer say that this book could actually move you to tears, and that's the only time I'd be okay with making someone cry.
Okay. Okay, so it's not going to be, it wouldn't be a tragic end, right? So she didn't die. It almost did. She almost did, right? Okay, we're not going to say what's going to happen. You got to get the book.
It's a spoiler-free zone.
Spoiler. Okay. I like that. I like this. Because those are definitely, it's funny because this is high school, but then it's something that kids are dealing with again in middle school. Yeah, I'm breaking the girl code and the boy code and not trust, going over the boundary and telling people things that you shouldn't tell them. Sweet and sour. So sweet relationship, but it goes sour, and there's a little bit of honey in between, I guess.
Yeah. And the other thing too, with this story with Shanil, it's very much a coming of age story, because even dealing with her parents breaking up, and she's close to her mother, but now she has her boyfriend, so she's thinking, I'm a woman now, and things are different because does she start lying to her mother to kind of get what she wants, and relationships are shaken up. So it's truly coming of age in the sense that Shanil really goes through it, and she has to decide the person I am, the person I'm becoming, while tackling the thing with teenagers, it's complicated because you're not a little child anymore, but you're still not an adult yet, and there's so much going on. And that's what Shanil kind of goes through. It's like slowly approaching adulthood, and trying to understand your identity and understanding the importance of the relationships in your life, not just with dating, but with family, with her mom, and how things get shaken up.
Right. I'm reading the book as we're talking. Yeah, I almost want to see not docu-series, but mini series. Have you ever thought about doing like a mini series based on your books?
Actually,
visual,
yes. Yes. And it's funny you brought that up, because that's the exact book that I wanted to do that with.
This one, right? I want to see this. It'll be spicy. I mean, I think this would be very I can see this happening in TIFF, like a short movie film thing, or just like little clips, like I don't know if you know Issa Rae. She did like a 50 series, 30 seconds thing. Yeah. I can see you doing more with this. But yes, think about it.
Yeah, that's the one. That is the one.
Think about it. So I was talking in the background, in the back with you before we came on to the front stage to speak to the audience. So audience, I was telling Michelle that I'm not, I don't like to read. It's not that I can't read, I just don't like to read. And telling an author that is always like, oh my God, I don't want to hear. But I like to watch. You know, if there was if there was a film on this, I would definitely watch that. And but stories like this that are catchy, not catchy, but spicy, I like to read, right? And when I can relate to it, or talk to the students about it, I really like that, right? So thank you for writing that. Um, do you feel like the need to provide hope and potential healing for young people when you're writing your books?
Yes, I think that's important. Because with my stories, I don't necessarily go for the sugar coated happy ending, because life doesn't always turn out that way. But what I do like to try to leave readers with is a message that says, you know, things might have gone downhill, but you know what? You're going to be okay. And I think that's really important because,
Yeah,
you know, life is complicated. It hits you with scenarios and situations that you're just not expecting. And I
yeah,
think that I try to take a realistic approach to that, just to make it
mhm.
clear that, in spite of this, you'll be fine. I really try to that home.
Okay, I appreciate that. Um, I'm going through all of your books, by the way. There's one of them that I don't have, but this one here, um, the Eastbrook Diaries. So tell us about this one. I love
Okay.
the cover.
So the Eastbrook Diaries is about three friends starting high school. And the thing about this high school is fitting in is the key to survival, because there are mean girls and bullies and the people that'll make your life difficult just because.
Hmm.
So there's Maya. She's a good student. She has her head on her shoulders. She wants to be a journalist like her mother. But her parents keep having the same fight because dad thinks mom is putting her career ahead of the family. Then we find out that mom has a secret that could tear the family apart.
Huh.
Then there's
Wow.
Jasmine. She's tough. She says, "Bring on the popular girls. They don't scare me." Because she can't stand popular girls. She thinks, okay, you guys think you're entitled, but you don't scare me. I'm not going to let you. So there's an incident on the first day of school,
Hmm.
and it casts Jasmine in a new light. And she captures the attention of the popular group. And things have changed now, because now she has the opportunity to become one of the popular girls. But the
Okay.
question is, how far is she willing to go?
Hmm.
And how much is she willing to sacrifice? And then there's Roland. He says, okay, I'm in high school. Time for me to have a girlfriend. But he keeps dropping these corny pickup lines, and they're not landing with the ladies, the girls. But then he finds someone he really likes, and she seems to like him too. But
Okay.
she's a teacher.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I just read that part. I was like, "Hmm." And I just thought about something that I saw on the news the other day about the
Yeah.
teacher that got arrested for sexual activities with a student. But yeah, huh?
So in this story, they do have an inappropriate relationship,
Yep.
but it's important to understand too that from the perspective of a 15-year-old, he thinks he's in love. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't realize this is another form of abuse.
Yes.
So with this story versus Keisha's story in It Could Never Happen to Me, I wanted to flip the script, so to speak, to show that, women can also be the abusers.
Uh-huh.
And because the boy is being abused, it's seen differently, even though it shouldn't be. Because
Right.
in his eyes, I'm a man, I'm with my
Oh,
woman.
older woman,
It's
my
still,
teacher.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So, for young readers, for teens that read this book, I do have a letter to the readers at the end of this book, just to kind of highlight why this is wrong, just to make sure they're not left with a romanticized idea. Because normally in pop culture, it is romanticized, and it
Mhm.
shouldn't be, of course, because it's wrong.
Okay, I see the letter.
Yes.
Do you mind if I read a bit
Oh,
of
sure,
the
sure.
letter? So, as Michelle just said, there's a letter that she does talk to the reader. And just because it was a very heavy topic or topics that were just covered in the book, she says to the reader, Dear reader, the Eastbrook Diaries is a work of fiction, but in real life, there have been student teacher relationships discovered like the one Roland and Miss Turner had. Miss Turner took advantage of Roland's loneliness and the mother figure missing in his life at the time. I don't want to give any more
Oh,
because they have to read the book.
yes.
So, so I like that you identify that for the reader, like because some kids can go away, yeah, I'm gonna be a stud in my school if the teacher
Exactly.
comes on to me or the teacher and I are doing this and that. No, it's abuse. It's not okay. So whether it's a male, female teacher or female student, it's not okay, right? And as you said, you wanted to highlight the fact that it can happen to boys as well, and that females can be abusers as well, sexually abusing young boys,
Yes.
as did happen. Something came out in the news. A teacher in Vaughan, not too far from where we live in Toronto, a teacher was charged for sexually abusing 15-year-old students. Um, so that's be wary. Like when you hear your kids come home, your male boys, your boys when they come home and they're like, oh, my teacher, she's taking us out to lunch and she's doing these things. Once, twice, maybe, but often if it persists and staying after school a lot can be alarm bells, red flags, right?
Yeah,
Just
there are
putting it
boundaries
out
because your
there.
teachers are your teachers, right?
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah.
there are boundaries for sure. Um, so you have another book that I did not read yet, and I don't have, but it's your most recent.
Yes.
Um, in the double life of Trina, right?
Yeah,
Is
the
that
double life
right?
of Trina Ross.
The double life of Trina Ross.
Yeah.
The double life of Trina Ross. Okay. So again, it's high school romance, right? Sudden financial instability, and you drew what drew you to explore the intersection of social class and teen relationships with this book?
So with this book, um, it's it's really complex. I didn't want to focus too much on the social class aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I'll tell you a little bit about the book, and then we can just so
Yes,
like,
yes,
everybody's on the same page as us. So,
yeah.
uh, Trina Ross, she was born to teenage parents. She never met her father, and she never will. But her mother worked hard to be successful and give Trina a secure life.
Mm-hmm.
So Trina's now a senior in high school, and she has eyes for Amari Hamilton. He's the sweetest, most popular boy around,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't expect him to notice her, but he does.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big deal because the queen bee of the school, Taylor, she wants Amari for herself, but he's looking for something deeper. It's not just a matter of I'm popular, you're popular, let's get together. He makes a
Right.
connection with Trina, and they do start dating, and things are going really well. But then at home, Trina starts to notice changes in her mother's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure what's going on there. And then she eventually finds out that her mother has stopped paying the rent.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're about to be evicted from their home.
Mm-hmm.
So Trina is now desperate for cash, and she has nowhere to turn because, she doesn't know her father's family, or, she doesn't have anybody else. So she
Yeah.
gets involved in a daring world to try to raise money quickly. And she's trying to keep this a secret from Amari and her mother. But the deeper she gets into this world, she realizes there might be no way out.
Hmm. Can I ask you?
So
I didn't read it, but can I ask you if it was sex trafficking, or would you answer, or do you want people to read the book? Honestly, it sounds like that to me, or maybe, oh wow, it could be worse, or a little bit of something else. Don't tell me.
no, okay, yeah. Thank you for letting me off the hook. I'm just kidding.
Don't tell me. I'm just being facetious right now. I like that storyline. I like the suspense that comes with what you just said. It sounds like something that teenagers could possibly experience. Um, it sounds like something that some of my students have experienced. And actually, a, a social worker, just told me that a client of hers just went through something like this. Um, they're being evicted, and the kids now have to figure out as well, what are we going to do with ourselves, right? Um, so she's also a teenager. The Trina.
Yeah.
Trina's also in high school, and she's dating this guy who's popular, and oh my, I can imagine what she's going through. So to keep up status with everything that's happening, she now takes on this lifestyle. So does she help her mom out? Is that what's happening? She's helping her mom out in the story?
Well, right now, the immediate concern is because her mother was successful,
Hmm.
but there's a change that now brought her down.
Okay.
So Trina had always seen her mother as this superwoman because she was a single
Mm.
mom, she raised her, and they're doing okay.
Hmm.
But all of a sudden, the superwoman is now falling, falling quickly.
Okay.
And right now, Trina's immediate concern is if she doesn't come up with money, they're going to have nowhere to live. Because right now, her mother is she's somewhat removed from the situation now because of
Hmm.
what she's going through. She has some
Right.
hidden demons.
Huh.
And, you know, Trina being the daughter, she's not responsible for her mother's
Others.
demons, but also, as a teenager, she doesn't have that maturity yet to quite understand what's going on. So by the time
Yeah.
she figured it out, everything was just, you know, everything was just
Okay.
very, very hard to deal with.
So we need also a visual on that. we need every story that you write. I think we need, like, because of the day and age that we're at as well.
Yeah.
Like, read the book and then have, like, let people wait, like you made us wait for the other ones. But then come up with a little story, like a visual, some actors, or even, I don't want them to be animated, but actors to act this out. You can even make these into plays,
Yeah,
live
I
theater.
thought
Have
that
you
too.
thought about live theater?
Yeah, I have. It's crossed my mind.
Oh my, I don't know how to navigate that one, but I know some actors that I mean, we can talk. I'm always talking to guests about what next. What are we doing? What are we doing next? Um, so yeah. All right. So we just talked about Trina. So your book seems to be a bridge between youth and adulthood. When you're writing, um, when you're writing, even though you said the first book was just about it had some real facts, like things that you've experienced, but truth be told, you were a teenager once. And so are these some stories that you've heard friends experience along the way? Is that where you're getting some of the, or is it just pure um, storytelling?
For
Is that,
the
that
most
if
part,
that makes sense?
yeah, yeah. For the most part, it just it's storytelling. Um, I haven't like most of the other topics. I can't necessarily say I've known someone in the exact situation. I
Mhm.
can say that in some of the situations I might have pulled inspiration, but
Mhm.
the first book is the one that's closest to what I went through. But everything else, it's been just inspiration drawn from various sources, but more storytelling than anything else.
Okay. Okay. And they're very similar. Well, let's say the first two are very similar. Let's see, Eastbrook. Eastbrook. What was that one about again?
Oh, the high school and
Oh,
the
dating. So they all have a kind of flair about dating and relationships and that kind of thing. Um, I'm just trying to make a connection between them. So, um, do you have a correlation or correlation that is like a golden thread that would connect all the stories together, to talk to teens or tell teens about how their entire body works, if that makes sense?
I think the common thread that I try to use to kind of weave the stories together, even though they're standalone, is just
Hmm.
the complexities of being a teenager because there's
Hmm.
just so much going on.
Yeah.
Like for example, that puberty is going to hit, but you still don't know exactly what that's going to mean for your
Right.
body. Um, you might date, but you still don't know what that means.
Hmm.
Are you, first kiss, beyond that? Are you ready for that? There's just so many questions. And I
Hmm.
think that's especially what I want to bring out in the stories. And I think that I have as best as I could, just to show that there are no easy answers
Right.
because there's just so much to learn. And, I think it's important too that I really want um, teens, especially that read my books, to know that, you're not alone. Somebody else has felt this way or
Hmm.
dealt with this.
Right.
And, thinking about, sometimes people aren't, teens aren't comfortable talking to their parents.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, like, parents have been through things as well.
Hmm.
But I feel that as the generations change and times change and trends change, I think that parents can relate to being a teen and to some degree. But
Right.
because everything's changed, like right now, being online is huge.
Hmm. Hmm.
Some parents, depending on the generation they're a part of, didn't have that growing up. So in a way, I think parents do understand, but then there are some aspects where they may not understand. And that's why conversation is important and awareness is important.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I do thank you for creating these books and creating the space for young people to read. And I remember me as myself, I'm referring to myself, like when I was younger, I would read about a lot of things. Even now, like if I don't know something, I'm going to go research it. So having a book like this could be almost like a self help book or a guide for them to um, see how other people experience life in high school, right? So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Um, I want you at this time to kind of like talk about where we can get these books. Where have you been popping up around the city? And about your publishing company that you have.
So my books are available on my website, michellerichardsgraham.square.site. And I'm fully self-published. Um, and I've been making appearances at different markets, different events. I've been at some chapters, Indigo stores throughout the GTA. And I update that my events on my website as well, just to keep everyone informed of where I'll be. And yeah, I've been enjoying I've been enjoying the process.
Okay.
I for me this is just a dream come true because again, I wrote my first story when I was 6, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm much older than 6. And I have my 4 books, and I'm so proud, and I really appreciate all the support that I've received. And yeah, it's great. It's overwhelming, but in a very wonderful way.
That's great. That's great to know. And we need to support our people as well. And it's not just our people that are going through this, but we also need to know that it's not just them that experience these things. Our kids are experiencing these things, and we don't have the outlets, and we don't have um, the platform to talk about this sometimes. I mean, we need to be open about topics like this: sexuality, dating. I know. I remember when I was younger, my mom said to me, "You can't have a boyfriend until you're like, I think she said 16 or something." I was 10, and I had a crush on a boy, and she said, "You can't have a boyfriend until you're 16." But it's like waiting till you're 16 is like an eternity, and then you hear about your friends dating at 12 and 13, especially nowadays. So have these conversations with your kids about like not to encourage them to date, but if they know people are dating, these are the safe ways to do things and topics to talk about. I had some girls yesterday in my office talking about, um, their mom overheard a conversation, and the conversation was, "Are you bi? Are you gay?" And mom was like, "What are you girls talking about?" And those are questions to talk. These are not questions, but topics to talk about as well with the day and age that we have. Don't ever think that your kids are in a silo. They're outside in the world. They're hearing about dating. They're hearing about sexuality. They might even hear that their friend was sexually abused. So we need to talk about these things so your child is open to talking to you about these things as well. Don't close the door. Have it wide open for them to come and talk to you. I just had to say that. So there was a question, sorry, that came across the screen. Do you write based on your own experience or from surrounding perspectives?
My first book, It Could Never Happen to Me, that was very much inspired by what had happened to me. With the other books, not so much based on anything that I'd gone through directly, but I really tried to tackle the issues that are out there, the known issues that teenagers are going through. Because
Mm-hmm.
they're in schools, they're online, all of these issues are popping up everywhere. So um, I kind of put myself back in my teenage shoes to kind of say, okay, this is the situation. How would I handle it? How would I feel? And I try to incorporate that into the characters that I built.
Yeah.
And sometimes with building characters as well, in order to keep authenticity, I might have them do something the complete opposite of what I would have done,
Mm-hmm.
because you want to make sure that your characters aren't static from book to book being the same. So yeah, definitely the first one is inspired by what I'd gone through, and everything else was just um, kind of putting together different topics based on everything out there.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that question. Hope that answered the question for you, novelist. All right. There was something I was going to ask. So you said that you self-published, right? What if there's a young person that is, or not so young person that is looking to, and this is, I still have your card. I don't know if you still use this. Do you see it? Your business
Oh
card?
yes, I've updated my site.
So, how would you, what would you say to someone, a young writer that's looking to get into writing? Or when I say young, young doesn't necessarily have to do with age. So
Yes.
someone that's new into the business. What would you say to them? What advice would you give to them?
Well, the one piece of advice that I like to give to other writers, especially if you're working on your first book, with the writing process itself, I would always say don't worry about starting from page one and getting to the end. And the reason I say that is because I think it could be very overwhelming trying to write that way. So, for example, with my books, I don't think I've written any of these in order, in like one actual book from page one to the very end. Sometimes I start in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm just inspired. Sometimes I start with the end and I think, okay, I've written the end. How do I get here? And then
Mm-hmm.
you almost get to a point where it seems like the book is writing itself as you go along. Because
Hmm.
I think pulling up that blank document and starting on page one and thinking you have to just keep going from there, it can be a lot. And I think that it could interfere with, um, the creative process and maybe stunt the creative juices that are flowing. So in
Yeah.
terms of writing, that's what I would say. Just, be messy with it. Get it all out there. You can copy and paste and move things around later if need be.
Okay.
And then, with publishing, um, there's so many different avenues out there. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend one over the other. It would
Mm-hmm.
just kind of be a matter of, what are your goals? What are you hoping to do? Where's the audience you're trying to reach? So that is just, there's so many directions one could go in. So I can't really just provide just one, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it really depends on what your goals are. You start with that.
Okay. Okay. Um, and I kind of like asked that as in a very selfish way because I've been trying to write a book for years, and one day I decided to just start dictating into my phone, so I don't have the I don't have the it within me to start typing. So I just started to talk about things that I wanted to say in the book, and it would be I don't want to give it out yet what it's about, but it's definitely going to be similar to yours. So it's almost like a book that will help someone else. And I think being a writer like that, the type of writer that you are, I think you would sell books more because it's relatable. People can relate to it, right? Even if it has a hint of fiction, there it is has a lot to do with reality,
Yeah.
right? So any last things you'd like to tell us about your books, where we can find them, and who you like to say hi to and shout out for the nights?
Yeah, so my books are on my site, michellerichardsgraham.square.site. Um, and again, I've shouted out Knowledge Bookstore in Brampton, Ontario. I want to thank them again. They were the first bookstore to support me as an independent author, and I will always appreciate them for that.
Mhm.
And thanks for everyone who's listening and watching. Appreciate you
Yes, we thank you for tuning in.
too.
Oh, here's a comment here. I would love to write a book. It's her dream. This is my mom. She tunes in every week. So she would love to write a book. So it's not too late. You could still write a book. And Michelle just gave you some tips of doing that. Um, so Knowledge Bookstore, thank you so much. I know Knowledge Bookstore as well. They support black. It's a black bookstore, black owned entrepreneurs and bookstore, and it is a nice, quaint, small space to have book talks. And I would encourage you to, if you do have a granddaughter, or hinting to my mom, granddaughter, or a daughter, a niece that you would like to, if you feel like you don't want to talk about certain topics with them, have them pick up, or you pick up one of these books for them. Knowledge Bookstore is in Brampton. And if you need to connect with Michelle, I don't know how, even though she just said how, connect with me and I will get you the books, get you to get the books. Okay. So again, the titles are, what are the titles?
It could never happen to me.
It Can Never Happen to Me,
Sweet and Sour Honey,
Sweet and Sour Honey,
The Eastbrook Diaries,
and your latest.
The Double Life of Trina Ross.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, there's some comments here. Thank you to Michelle. Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. So I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show tonight, on my show, Minds in Motion, and for being on TDN TV, Network One, radio, and TV. And wish you all the best in your endeavors. And I am hoping to see a little series of these books, especially Sweet and Sour Honey. That one sounds very good. Sassy.
Thank you too. I enjoyed the conversation.
All right, Michelle, take care and have a great evening. See you soon. Take care. Bye. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Minds in Motion as well, on all the platforms that we are on tonight. So I'm going to end the show. Don't log off. We still have another show happening right after this. Remember last week I told you don't jump off? Do not jump off. We have another show. It's called This Week in Interview with Anthony Drago. I'm going to jump out of this studio and go into the next studio. But on the same network that you tuned in right now, just stay on, wait for a few minutes. 8 o'clock or 8:01, the new show is going to start. And I'm going to be over there talking about Minds in Motion. So tune in for that in a few minutes. Thank you again for tuning in to Minds in Motion. And I hope you learned a lot tonight. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.
I'm talking Joe Podcast, Minds in Motion. Talk about relationships, help your emotions, behavior management when your kids start to losing it. Talk about life and all the confusion. Minds in motion. Minds in motion. Talk about relationships. I'm talking Joe Podcast, Minds in Motion. Talk about relationships, help your emotions.